Thank you. Thank you, Mr Speaker. It was reported on the TV yesterday that the Labour backbenchers are revolting. Now, that is a matter of opinion.
You don't have a TV licence.
Unlike the Labour backbenchers and the Prime Minister...
You don't have a TV licence, please.
Unlike the Labour backbenchers and the Prime Minister...
He doesn't have a TV licence. I mean, keep going. Where's your TV licence?
Hi.
Order. I didn't want to have to get up. One of us is going to sit down, it's not going to be me. Who was the person that was speaking out then? If you haven't got the guts to admit to shouting somebody down, leave the chamber. Lee Anderson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Unlike the Prime Minister of our country, I've never been thrown out or barred from a pub, and after yesterday's disastrous announcement to save our pubs, there's no wonder it's cleared off to China. But I've got one question for the Deputy Prime Minister. Will he come with me to Ashfield to visit some pubs and speak to some landlords and explain to them why over 500 pubs have closed since this Labour government came into power, and why another 500 pubs will close in the next year? Come on, be a man.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, I think I once campaigned with the honourable gentleman who was a member of the Labour Party. And it's been said of him that when he left, he enhanced the IQ of the Labour Party and the IQ of the party that he went to. I wondered what job the honourable member is pitching for on Reform's shadow cabinet. They've got Nadeem Zahawi to advise on tax, the member for Newark to open up the borders. Now they need Liz Truss to crash the economy.
Ian Byrne.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I hope you get well soon. Lydia Jakeman is 19 years of age and has been given a devastating diagnosis of motor neurone disease. When she was told she has a very rare form of the disease that can be treated with a groundbreaking new drug called tofersen, her family were given hope. They have since discovered that while the drug has been made available to the NHS free of charge, a local trust has declined to deliver it. This afternoon, a family will be arriving at Downing Street, having walked from Southampton to highlight this injustice. Will the Deputy Prime Minister work with me, MPs from across the House, the Department of Health and Social Care Ministers, as well as NHS bosses, to deliver fair access to tofersen for all living with this rare form of motor neurone disease?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, can I say to my honourable friend that I'm sorry to hear about those that are waiting for this treatment, and of course I will ensure that he gets the appropriate meeting with the relevant minister.
James McMurdo.
GR Car is a business in Burnt Mills in my constituency in Basildon, with over half a century of experience in steel manufacturing and fabrication. It is exactly the kind of medium-sized business that builds this country and we should be championing. And following my visit to them last week, I was disturbed to find out that many of our contracts from our flagship deals in Teesside and in our nuclear programmes go offshore, such as the 7,000-tonne order for steel to China and the 200-plus kilometres of fabricated pipework to Germany. This is exactly the kind of investment that should be done in the UK. So how does sending offshore play into their growth plans?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, the honourable gentleman will remember that we stepped in to save British Steel and we committed up to £2.5 billion to rebuild the sector, and we'll publish a steel strategy setting out how we're going to achieve that shortly. The British Industry Supercharger will also bring down energy costs for strategically important UK industries.
Patricia Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. At a time when this government is promoting a duty of candour to ensure all public servants, including ministers, should have a legal duty to act with transparency and frankness, and when the Scottish Government has indicated it hopes that legislation will apply there too, does the Deputy Prime Minister support calls for the current First Minister, a former First Minister and a former Health Minister to appear before the inquiry into the deaths of adults and children as a result of contaminated water at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow? A scandal widely thought to be the worst since devolution began.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, my honourable friend is right to raise this serious matter. It's a scandal, one of the worst failures in modern Scottish public life. The SNP government must acknowledge the grave failures at Queen Elizabeth Hospital. When whistleblowers raised serious failings, SNP ministers sided with the Health Board and dismissed families who went through tragic circumstances. That should be condemned as wholly unacceptable, and there's no clear example of why Scotland needs change with Anna Sarwar.
The UK's nuclear deterrent has kept this country safe for over 5 decades, and as the Deputy Prime Minister will know, it's operationally independent, but it still relies on US defence supply chains. Given the shaking of traditional alliances, could the Deputy Prime Minister reassure the House and the country that the UK has sufficient stockpiles of the component parts of the D5 Trident II missiles that the nuclear submarines have, and ensure that the supply chain remains resilient and is able to cope with any change in the White House, whether positive or negative?
Deputy Prime Minister.
He raises an important issue, and it's why I was pleased to work with the Defence Secretary on the Strategic Defence Review, and that we're investing £270 billion over this Parliament into defence.
I think so.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know that the Deputy Prime Minister takes a deep interest in Uganda. 2 weeks ago, there was a sham election. People prevented from voting. Government officials stuffed the ballot boxes. Now the military is pursuing Bobi Wine, the leader of the opposition, with deadly intent. I'm gravely concerned about Bobi, opposition activists and British citizens in Uganda. What can we do to safeguard those people and ensure that we don't see violence and bloodshed on the streets of Uganda?
Deputy Prime.
Well, I was very grateful to meet with Bobi Wine and him when I was Shadow Foreign Secretary. We call for peaceful and credible elections. This dispute must be resolved peacefully and legally. Opposition candidates must be able to campaign freely. And of course, we will continue to make representations forcefully.
Bob Blackman, final question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I join the Deputy Prime Minister in commemorating Holocaust Memorial Day. But unbelievably, Palestinian Pulse, an organisation, plan a protest outside Parliament today entitled "Confront Power in Parliament, an Anti-Zionist Rally." Now, the Jewish population of our country have had to put up with weekly protests in our towns and cities since the 7th of October 2023. Now we have Jewish businesses and restaurants having protests outside, trying to close them down. The chants are anti-Semitic. The meaning behind them is anti-Semitic.
Well said, please.
And we see where it leads. The massacre on Bondi Beach. What happened in the United States, and unbelievably, 2 of our Jewish population being murdered in Manchester. Now, Lord Macdonald's review is going to obviously look at this. But the Jewish population of this country do not have 2 years to wait before this hatred is extinguished. So will the Deputy Prime Minister take concrete steps to ensure that anti-Semitism is driven out of our country?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, I'm very grateful to the honourable gentleman. He and I have worked cross-party on these issues over many years, particularly as I represent Stamford Hill, one of the historic homes of the Jewish community, and he's quite right. The rising anti-Semitism that we see, the nature of some forms of protest is intolerable and unacceptable. That is why the Home Secretary has set out the plans that she has, and I will continue to work with her closely to drive anti-Semitism out of this country.
That completes Deputy Prime questions. Let the front benches change over. Presentation of bills. Peter Bedford.